55 years ago, America did something no one else on Earth had ever done. We touched the moon with computers weaker than your phone. It was July 1969. Families huddled around black and white TVs, eyes wide, hearts racing. Neil Armstrong's voice crackled through the static.
It's one small step for man.
And the world stopped breathing for a second. In that moment, the impossible became American. Now fast forward to today. We scroll on supercomputers that fit in our pockets, yet we haven't set foot on the moon again in over half a century. Kind of strange, isn't it? The nation that once led the stars now rents rockets just to reach orbit. As the full moon of November rises tonight, it's not just another night sky, it's a mirror, a glowing reminder of who we were, and maybe who we've stopped trying to be. So here's the question that should keep every American awake tonight. We went to the moon with 1960s tech. What happened to that fire? Back in the early 1960s, America was a country that dreamed in rocket fuel. John F. Kennedy stood before a crowd at Rice University and said words that still echo across generations.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
Those words weren't just a speech, they were a spark, a challenge that turned engineers into heroes, classrooms into launch pads, and a divided nation into one team. Every headline, every dinner table conversation, every kid staring up at the night sky, it all revolved around one dream: reach the moon before anyone else. The Cold War made it a race, but to the people watching, it felt like something bigger. It wasn't just about beating the Soviets, it was about proving what free minds could do when they worked together. NASA became the heart of that ambition. Between 1961 and 1972, more than 400,000 Americans, scientists, welders, secretaries, janitors, all played a role. Factories in Ohio, labs in California, classrooms in Texas, all pulsed with the same rhythm: go further, faster, higher. And it wasn't just about rockets, it was about identity. Kids built model spacecraft out of cereal boxes. Teachers pointed at the moon, saying, "We're going there." Families gathered around glowing TV sets, their living rooms lit by the countdown clock from Cape Canaveral. For one brief, brilliant decade, America looked up together. The impossible wasn't some distant idea, it was a deadline. And for once, the whole country believed that the stars weren't just out there. They were ours to touch. After Apollo 17 touched down in 1972, the roar of the rockets faded, and so did the excitement. The grand mission that once united the nation became yesterday's news. Congress cut NASA's budget, shifting billions toward wars and domestic programs. The same country that once reached for the stars began counting the cost of gravity. In the 1960s, NASA commanded 4.4% of the federal budget. By the 1980s, it was less than 0.5%. The world's most daring agency was now asked to do more with less. Dreams became spreadsheets. Exploration turned into maintenance. Then came the heartbreak. 1986, the Challenger disaster. A teacher on board. Millions of school children watching live as the shuttle disintegrated in the sky. 2003, the Columbia tragedy. 7 astronauts lost, and with them, a nation's confidence in its own reach. Suddenly, space wasn't seen as the frontier of courage. It was the edge of risk. Politicians hesitated. Public interest drifted. People stopped looking up. The shuttle era limped on. Reliable, routine, unremarkable. America went from asking, "What's next?" to "What's safe?" The Apollo generation had chased the impossible. The next ones were told to preserve what was left. And maybe that's the saddest part. The flame didn't go out in an explosion. It dimmed in silence. Between budget cuts, bureaucracy, and distraction, the nation that once aimed for the moon lost its sense of direction. By the 2000s, NASA was renting seats on Russian rockets just to reach orbit. The land of Kennedy and Armstrong became a customer. And for the first time in history, space, that vast, boundless dream, felt out of reach again.
So I told him, I said,
My dad used to tell me where he was when Neil Armstrong took that first step. He said the whole neighborhood gathered in one living room, holding their breath as the black and white image flickered on the screen. For him, that moment wasn't just about space. It was about America proving to itself that it could do the impossible. But for my generation, space became something different. Not a destination, a memory. It lived in documentaries, old photos, and dusty textbooks. By the time I was born, the moon landing was already a museum exhibit. Science used to be our shared adventure. Now it became someone else's job. We stopped dreaming about rockets and started scrolling through phones. The future didn't feel like out there anymore. It was just another app update. When the skies grew quiet, movies tried to fill the silence. Apollo 13 reminded us what courage looked like. Interstellar imagined what could have been if we hadn't stopped reaching. Hollywood kept the stars alive on screen because reality no longer did. And in that space between nostalgia and apathy, something inside us shifted. We grew more cynical, more divided, more grounded, literally and metaphorically. The unity that once came from looking up dissolved into arguments about budgets, taxes, and politics. Ask anyone over 40 what space means to them, and you'll see it in their eyes. That mix of pride and loss. Because they remember a time when every headline made you believe in something bigger than yourself. When the sky was the limit, and America actually believed it. That's what we lost, not the technology, the imagination. For decades, rockets only went one way, up. They burned bright, broke the sky, and never came back. But in 2015, something incredible happened. A slender white rocket called Falcon 9 rose from Cape Canaveral, and then, against everything we thought we knew, it came back down and landed. Perfectly, upright, like science fiction turning into fact right before our eyes. That single moment changed everything. It wasn't just a technical achievement, it was emotional. Because for the first time in a long time, Americans looked up again. And we felt that same flutter in our chest our parents did when Armstrong said, "The Eagle has landed." Elon Musk didn't just build rockets, he reignited ambition. He reminded us that the frontier wasn't closed. It was just waiting for someone stubborn enough to try again. Falcon Heavy followed, 3 boosters roaring into the clouds, one carrying a cherry red Tesla drifting toward the stars. It was bold, ridiculous, and utterly American. Then came Crew Dragon, the sleek new capsule that carried NASA astronauts to orbit from US soil again in 2020, after a 9-year gap. The launch wasn't just a mission, it was a message. America was back in the game. Today, Starship stands as the next giant leap, the most powerful rocket ever built, designed to carry humans to Mars. And it's not just NASA anymore. Private companies, dreamers, coders, even high school students, all are part of this NASA 2.0 era. We're watching the rebirth of something deeply American, the belief that impossible things are simply not done yet. And this time, when those rockets land, they don't just bring back metal, they bring back pride. Apollo was built with pencils, paper, and slide rules. Atlas is built with code, algorithms, and artificial intelligence. 2 eras, 2 languages, but one heartbeat, the same relentless belief that the sky is not the limit. In the 1960s, engineers scribbled on chalkboards, plotting trajectories by hand. Today, software calculates millions of flight simulations in seconds. Back then, mistakes were erased with rubber. Now they're debugged with code. But courage, that's still analog. That's still human. Apollo defined a generation that grew up staring at static-filled TVs, watching a man take his first step on another world. Atlas defines a generation staring at glowing screens, watching rockets rise through live streams. Different medium, same emotion, awe. That silent gasp when humanity dares to go a little higher. And as we watch the full moon of November rise tonight, Atlas prepares for another test. The next step in the chain that began with Apollo. From one small step to one more launch. From the space age to the digital age. The names change, Saturn, Falcon, Atlas, but the meaning stays. They're all symbols of something we keep rediscovering, that progress isn't linear, it's cyclical. Every generation has to fall, doubt, rebuild, and rise again. And that's the beauty of it. The technology evolves, but the story stays the same. A few dreamers defying gravity, a nation daring to dream bigger than its fears. Apollo looked up with courage. Atlas looks up with computation. But both carry the same message, written not in code, but in conviction. The American spirit doesn't retire, it just relaunches. Once we reached the moon to prove something to the world, to show that democracy, innovation, and grit could outpace fear. But this time, the race is different. We're not competing with anyone. We're chasing who we used to be. Because space isn't just about rockets or planets. It's about identity. It's the reminder that when Americans unite behind a purpose, any purpose, we can do what no one else dares. The stars have always been a mirror. They reflect the best version of us, bold, curious, unstoppable. And maybe that's why every rocket launch feels like déjà vu, because somewhere deep down, we remember what it felt like to dream that big. Now, as new rockets roar and land, and as a new generation looks up, we're reminded that the story of American space pride was never over. It was just waiting for its sequel. And this time, we're not going to the moon to plant a flag. We're going to prove we still can. Tonight, when the full moon of November rises, take a moment. Step outside, look up, really look. That same moon still glows, unchanged since the day Armstrong left his footprints there. The stars didn't fade, our eyes just drifted away. So maybe it's time to look back and look forward all at once, because the sky never stopped calling. We just stopped answering. If that dream still stirs something in you, share this story and remind the world what American space pride really looks like.